Hello everyone, and welcome to Kenya O'Clock News and Real Talks, where we break down the biggest stories. Today we turn our attention to a country long held up as a model of East Africa's relative stability, yet now facing a storm of uncertainty. That country is Tanzania. On October 29, 2025, Tanzanians went to the polls in what was presented as a national election. The official result, Samia Suluhu was declared the winner with 97.66% of the vote. In her speech afterwards, she emphasized unity. Quote, "Now the election is over, it's time to unite our country," she declared. But that headline result came under dramatic and troubling circumstances. Two major opposition candidates were excluded from the race. Many polling stations, especially in urban centers, were reported near empty. Spectators questioned how that landslide was achieved. And then the protests began. For decades, Tanzania was seen as an island of calm in a region often buffeted by political turbulence. But the recent election has exposed deep fault lines. Across cities like Dar es Salaam and Mwanza, what began as spontaneous public unrest quickly escalated into violence. Protesters tore down campaign posters, set fire to government buildings, and clashed repeatedly with security forces. The government imposed curfews and shut down internet access, moves typical of states under major internal pressure. On one side, the opposition claims hundreds of people were killed in the unrest. On the other, the United Nations has confirmed credible reports of at least 10 deaths in 3 cities, but stresses that full verification is extremely difficult. The upshot, the Tanzania many knew as a sanctuary of regional stability, is now being described as teetering on the edge of chaos. On November 3, President Samia Suluhu was sworn in for her new term. The ceremony took place at a military base in the capital city Dodoma, rather than in the large public stadiums of the past. Notably, the general public was barred from attending. Only select dignitaries and invited guests were present. In her address, President Suluhu acknowledged the loss of lives, while also pointing to foreign actors and others as agents of trouble in the country. She called for the restoration of order and pledged the involvement of all security agencies to maintain peace. But analysts ask, when citizens are locked out of the swearing-in of their own leader, what message does that send about openness, legitimacy, and public trust? Across Tanzania, grieving families and rights groups are demanding answers. Who is accountable for the deaths? How many really died? Will there be transparent investigations? The main opposition party, Chadema, is refusing to recognize the election result and calls it a mockery of the democratic process. Meanwhile, rights organizations point to a longer pattern of enforced disappearances and extrajudicial actions in the run-up to the vote. The silence from institutions that traditionally responded to such crises only deepens the sense of urgency. In the background, a country where everyday economic and social activity has been disrupted, shops closed, transport halted, uncertainty spreading. The people of Tanzania now face a dual challenge, reclaiming their voice while living in a climate of fear. So why should we pay attention to Tanzania? A few reasons. First, the precedent. When a country long viewed as stable begins to fracture, regional ripple effects quickly follow. Second, democracy and legitimacy. If elections become exercises in affirmation rather than choice, trust erodes. Third, human cost. When lives are lost in the pursuit of political power, the implications are profound. Over the coming weeks, we will watch for key developments. Will there be an open and credible investigation into the unrest? Will opposition voices regain a forum for expression? Will the government engage inclusively with a youth population that clearly feels alienated? For the audience of our podcast, in your homes, offices, schools, this is more than a news item. It is a window into the fragility and resilience of democratic mechanisms and civic voice. It is a reminder that peace is not just the absence of conflict, it is the presence of participation, fairness, and respect for human dignity. Thank you for joining me on this deeper look into Tanzania's unfolding story. This has been Kenya O'Clock News, bringing you the stories that matter most. Stay tuned and stay informed.